independent and sovereign legal entity. That status had been won with difficulty, being the work of 3 generations of Romanians who wanted to modernize their country, starting around 1800. In order to assert its own personality, the Romanian state needed diplomatic missions in the major capitals, the most important being the capitals of France, that of the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, and Russia. One of the most important diplomatic missions of Romania was the one in the Russian space. Following the Russo-Romanian-Turkish War of 1877-1878, Romania had won its independence, and after those years, it was also trying to make its place in the international diplomatic framework in St. Petersburg. The diplomatic mission has always had and always will have an extremely high importance. In this sense, Camille Gondet, the French minister in Bucharest and a great friend of Romania, said around the outbreak of the First World War in an interview given to the prestigious Adevărul newspaper, quote, "A legation, yes, here is a word that, for the locals of a country, depicts nothing more than a beautiful building, a palace, where the minister of another land, always a friend, houses his chancelleries and family. To foreign subjects, to the French, Germans, English, and other guests of ours, permanent or transient, the legation assumes gigantic proportions. In their eyes, the beautiful dwelling of their minister represents the distant and dear homeland, the house from which protection and a good word issue, the temple above which, on great days, flutters the flag with the colors that make hearts beat loudly. A legation is sacred to all governments." Unquote. Historian Bogdan Ciobanu from the Romanian Center for Russian Studies told us how important it was to fix Romania's presence in space. After all, the residence of the head of mission symbolically represents the nation outside the country's borders, and its location and furnishings are of concern to every minister who arrives at their post. A permanent residence had several advantages by avoiding the various negotiations with representatives of the local elites for the conclusion of contracts. For a young independent state, as Romania was, the search for suitable headquarters for its legations, well located and furnished, was a matter of prestige. The interaction with local society that had to be received on occasion of various events could be better achieved. Basically, the diplomatic hotel represents the intersection of private and public space. Many times, some of the Romanian ministers, before they arrived at their post in certain cities, were interested, first and foremost, in the conditions they found at the legation headquarters. The history of the legation offices and then of the Romanian embassy in the Russian space is linked to the history of bilateral relations, and Bogdan Ciobanu identified 3 stages. The first is the one from 1878 to 1918, when diplomatic relations between Romania and Soviet Russia break. The second stage is between 1935 and 1963, and the third from 1963 continuing today. The year 1963 marked the beginning of the construction of the current premises of the Romanian embassy in Russia. And here is Bogdan Ciobanu. Before 1963, we are talking about rented buildings for which the Romanian state rented various contracts. There were 8 heads of mission between 1878 and 1918. The first of them, Iacov Dica, is also the one who died in office during his term in 1881. The second is Nicolae Crăciulescu, who arrives in Petersburg in the summer of 1881. He is the one who was constantly concerned about renting a building suitable to the importance of Romania's diplomatic mission in the capital of the Russian Empire. It was a rather important building located on the main street of Kiev at number 3, in front of the imperial stables. During Crăciulescu's time, furniture was bought and cultural events began to be organized. The longest-serving Romanian minister in St. Petersburg was George Crăciulescu between 1895 and 1911, married to Olga Ghirs, daughter of Nicolae Ghirs, Russian foreign minister between 1882 and 1895. But the great changes in Russia at the end of 1917, which became the USSR, would lead to the breaking of diplomatic relations. Following the revolutionary events of October 1917, Constantin Diamandis, the last Romanian minister in St. Petersburg, was arrested by the Bolshevik revolutionaries and imprisoned for 60 hours in the Petermantel prison. He got to be released under pressure from the American ambassador. You have been listening to Radio Romania International Encyclopedia. You are listening to Radio Romania International.
Next up in this broadcast is All Bad Jazz. Welcome.